Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Pauline Baird, a cultural bearer from the village of Buxton, Guyana. And as you know, I tell the stories of my village, our family stories, our whispered stories, our hidden practice and long forgotten traditions. I tell the stories so that we can learn from them. Let me talk story. What is stories say? Well, as you know, November is Cancer Awareness Month. Let's talk about the big C, cancer. Everyone is deathly afraid of cancer. And we have all perhaps known someone who has suffered, or we've heard of someone. Let me speak about my situation to give you some perspective. I want you to like, follow, subscribe. Well, 12 years ago, when I first came to Japan to live, I was enjoying my life here. And as usual, every year, our university would have the teachers and the professors go and get their annual physical. Well, I don't think it's like the United States, or at least it's not like any place I've lived in. So what happens? These mobile units would converge on the campus. You have everything. They check every orifice. They come through and they look at everything. So the professors have to be scheduled according to age and according to the kinds of health checks that they would need. Mind you, everything is covered by insurance, and they don't poo-poo this stuff. They actually look for stuff. They really check you out. And so I love this place. The healthcare is phenomenal. So I signed up for everything, and there was a paper that said you could do the mammogram and different things. So I signed up for the mammogram, but I had forgotten about it. So the evening I was still on campus and somebody called, Pauline Sang. Well, the term Sang is an honorific that's put behind your name, like Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. Pauline Sang, and they said some things in Japanese. At that time, I couldn't speak Japanese, any fashion. So I couldn't understand, but I figured out when they said mammogram, I forgot this thing. So I ran downstairs really quick, and the unit was still waiting. They opened the doors like a little ice truck, and they showed me a fake breast, and they, gestured that I should feel it. And when I felt it, I felt like these hard knobs inside at the, towards the breast, what would be the breastbone. So they were asking me if I have that on my body. Well, I had never felt anything like that on my breast. Well, mind you, they always say to do breast exam, but I'm kind of squeamish to get in there and really dig in. But that's what we have to do, really dig into that mass in the breast to see if there's anything in there. So I didn't have anything like that I felt. And so they went ahead and did the mammogram. Now, I remember one time, I was at my friend's house and I was changing my clothes, and her teenage daughter was there, and she said, Auntie Pauline, how come your boobs is falling out at the bottom? Like I got side boobs or something like that. And I just laughed it off. So a couple of weeks later, I got mail. Well, it was quite unusual, and I didn't know why it was unusual. I got the mail, and I realized later that the mail was in English, and I don't usually get mail in English. And I opened it and I saw a list of 10 hospitals. And basically it was saying that I should select one of these hospitals to go to. It didn't register what they were saying. So I ran over to this lady who helps us with all our medical needs and translation issues and so on. And I said, Oh, Miss Ang, what is this? And she said, well, you have to go to hospital because you have to get checked out. I read it carefully, and it said that I have 2 masses in my breast, 1 in each breast. It didn't register. I just said, okay, I will go. So we picked a university hospital, and that was in October. From October to January, I was at a hospital every week. Every time I went to the hospital, I wondered if this was the last day of normal, if the sun would shine as brightly as it did that day, if the snow will fall as heavily as that day. Would my world be the same as the day before? as I went to the hospital, my anxiety kind of grew a little bit, but I was taking it like a champ. The first time I went, the guy said I have to do a mammogram. So he did the mammogram. They pressed my boobs 6-way and all over. I had never seen that many different ways to do a mammogram. So they did it, and then he said, no mass. Well, this doctor was a young doctor and could speak some English. So I said, okay, I'm done. He said, no, 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 no. Paper said, mass in breast. So I said, no, look here, no. He said, paper say mass in breast. He wrote there, come back the next week. I have to do sonogram. So I went back the next week. They did the sonogram. Sure enough, 2 masses. Like, what is this? So I said, well, what now? He said, big needle biopsy. Next week, I went back, big needle biopsy. That was done. Then I said, what now? He said, I have to get some kind of a check again. When they checked again, one of the masses disappeared. I said, what happened? He said, well, that one had water inside. Some kind of cyst, okay? Then I said, what now? He said, small needle biopsy. I'm like, Lord, what is this? So they're biopsying the other one, but the thing is moving. So, I called my friends who are in the medical field, what's happening. They asked me, does the thing move? I said, yes. They said, well, maybe it's not anything. So I told the doctor, look, my friends say this thing moving is not anything. They said, no, no, no. Paper said mass in breast. So, okay. So I went there. They did the small needle biopsy. They went through everything. They said I have to do an MRI. So I went into the MRI machine. That was the weirdest thing ever. You're like in this big lung, and this thing would make noise. Well, I had to be in there for quite a while, so I would begin to fall asleep. And every time I begin to nod off, that thing would rattle and rock and wake me up. And they try to put on music, but it doesn't matter. So at the end of that, it came out. Then the next step was they had to do some tests. Well, in America, they would tell you what kind of tests they're doing, you consent, and so on. Not these people. They did the HIV test, they did whatever test. They don't ask you anything. They just do. So they tested my ears to see how my blood clots and things like that. I'm sharing this so that I can help you to take away the fear, because I'm going to ask you to go and get your check for breast cancer. So they did that, and they scheduled a surgery. Okay? I was going to Thailand that year for vacation. They scheduled this surgery for January 26th. That's the day of my birthday. So I told the doctor, that's my birthday, I can't do surgery. He said, mass in breast, surgery that day. So what can I say? So he introduced me to an older doctor. That doctor didn't speak English. So January 26th, I left Thailand, came back to Japan, and the old lady that helped us out, she came with me. It was just me and her at the hospital. And, I was talking to my boss, and I was telling him, because when I saw the statistics, they give you a percent chance of it. I had a percentage, and I was telling him, and he's like, oh, well, I know other people who have a higher chance. And then it kind of hit me, I felt down, like maybe, I'm facing this kind of a monster alone in this foreign country with just this one lady who is going to be looking out for me. So I went to the surgery that day. Well, let me tell you one thing. When I would go to do these tests, it did not it didn't cost me more than like $10 each time. Or sometimes, the day of the surgery, I paid $100. That was it. And that was for medication and whatever else, and bandages and stuff. So I went in for the surgery. I was awake. They put a barrier so I couldn't see what they were doing. And I was there. But the funny thing is, I was in this hospital room, and there was a cabinet across from me. And the cabinet was at glass panes and stuff. But there were slivers of mirrors around the edge. And while I was waiting, I could smell the burning, the cauterizing, and whatever arteries, veins, I don't know what. And I happened to look over through that little mirror, and I could see the entire surgery. I saw when the blood come out, I saw what they were doing, and when they were done, the older man told the young man to tell me that they were done. So he told me in English. I heard it in Japanese as well, and he said, "We're done." I said, "I know." And he asked me, he told the old man that I know. And the old doctor said, "How does she know?" And he asked me, and I said I could see through the mirror over there. And they looked over, and their jaw just dropped. They were amazed that I could even look at it. Well, they stitched me up, sent me on my way. I had to go downstairs to get the medication. And here's the thing about Japanese medication, as far as I know. They don't give you very strong medication. So whatever painkillers they gave me, by the time I waited for that medication, I was already in pain. I started to feel pain. So I got the medication at the pharmacy, took the painkillers, went home, and I relaxed. The whole time I was home relaxing, I was watching Sex and the City. So I have a connection with breast cancer scare and Sex and the City. My boss said I could stay home for 4 days. I'm thinking, what am I going to do 4 days at home? But the thing is, I couldn't lift my arm. So when I actually did go back to work, I had to tell the students, I had to tell them something like this: zukin zukin toi tai tai. That means I have a pain that's going like juk juk, like zukin zukin toi tai tai. Toi tai tai. Yeah, zukin zukin pain I have, right? So something like that. And so I couldn't lift my arm. And anyway, I started to get healing. I had to go back after about, I think, 6 months or a year or something like that to have it checked again. And then 2 years after. But I could tell you, after 2 years, I still could feel where they sewed it inside. It was like a rope inside. And it eventually healed. I'm sharing this as one woman to another, and a woman to a man, because breast cancer doesn't only affect women, they affect men. So let's be aware of this, go out and get checked. And here's my challenge: just like how you get your girlfriend, you call to go to the dance and to eat and to gossip, tell that girlfriend to go with you, and both of you get checked. If you have a bosom buddy or a nene or a makume, you just get that person, your buddy. Just brave it up and go together. You know, if you face it by yourself, it's kind of scary. I've been there, I know that. But if you go with someone that is a trusted someone, you know, you can get help. I had a community here in Japan, and I must say thank you to these people. After the surgery, the lady took me to the head of, let's say, the human services, and to say that I was well and so on, because apparently they got together and helped to pay for something, I don't know, you know. And I would go to the onsen, that's a hot bath, and they'd be there and talking to me in Japanese. Sometimes I couldn't understand, sometimes I could understand, but I didn't have to understand the language of love and the language of support. So please, for your sake, your family's sake, for everyone's sake, be good to yourself, as good as you would be to your friends or your loved ones. Get the check. Walk good.